Texas, January 1887. The wind doesn't blow across the Llano Estacado, it drags. Like something wounded trying to crawl home. You're inside a cedar plank cabin in Palo Pinto County, and the mercury thermometer your grandfather hauled from St. Louis reads 11 degrees below zero. Snow has been falling for 3 days straight, piling against the walls like the land itself is trying to bury you. And you just opened the window, not a crack. The whole thing. Swung it wide on its leather hinges and let the frozen air pour in like floodwater into a sinking hull. Your wife looks at you from across the room.
What is
that
it you're
look
not
she
telling
gives
me?
when she's calculating
Just the
whether you
silence of the
finally
snow,
lost
dear.
your mind, or if there's something she doesn't understand yet.
Is he well?
The baby stirs in the
just
cedar
restless.
cradle by the stove.
Thank you.
The old hound lifts his gray muzzle from his spot near the fire, sniffs once, decides this isn't his problem, and settles back down. You haven't gone mad. You're following a rule that kept 3 generations of Texas ranchers alive through winters that killed livestock by the thousands, froze cattle standing upright in the fields, turned the Pecos River into a road you could walk across. A rule so counterintuitive that modern heating engineers would laugh at it. A rule your great-grandchildren will never learn, because they'll grow up believing that warmth comes from sealing yourself inside plastic and fiberglass, pumping artificial heat through aluminum veins, and never questioning why their grandmother's cabins always felt different, heavier somehow, and yet easier to breathe in. Here's what nobody tells you about surviving winter in a frontier cabin. The cold outside isn't what you should fear most. There's something else. Something that doesn't howl or rattle the shutters. Something that builds so slowly you won't notice until it's already wrapped around you like a second skin. The old ranchers had a name for it. They called it dead air, not poetry, a warning. Passed down from father to son, from mother to daughter, spoken in the same tone they used for rattlesnakes in the woodpile. And ice on the creek that looks solid but isn't. You can't see it. Can't smell it, not really, though some claimed they could. Said it had a weight to it, a thickness that good air didn't carry. What you notice first is subtler. A feeling in your chest like you've been breathing through wool. A strange tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. The sense that something in the room has shifted, though nothing has moved. Your wife felt it yesterday. Didn't say anything, she's not the complaining type. But you saw her pause by the stove, one hand pressed flat against her sternum, frowning at nothing. The baby's been restless for 2 nights now. Won't settle. Makes that thin sound that means something's wrong, but he's too small to know what. You blame the storm. The confinement. The worry about the cattle you can't check on. You were wrong about all of it. Contagem approximata due. Bloco 1. Approximately 510 Palavres Bloco 2, Versao final. The cabin is doing exactly what you built it to do. Every gap chinked with mud and horsehair. Every join sealed tight against the wind. You spent 2 summers getting it right, and when the first norther hit last November, you felt proud watching your neighbor's candles flicker while yours burned steady. No drafts, no whistling through the walls. A box built to hold warmth like a fist holds water. That's the problem. You sealed yourself in. And now you're sharing your air with the fire. Not sharing, competing. The stove doesn't just burn wood. It breathes. Every flame you've ever lit, every coal you've ever watched glow orange in the dark, was breathing. Pulling something out of the room and leaving something else behind. The old-timers didn't know the words for it, didn't need them. They knew what a cabin felt like after 3 days sealed shut with a fire burning constant. Heavy, damp, wrong in a way you couldn't point to but couldn't ignore either. The air that's already been breathed. By you. By the fire, doesn't disappear. It settles, pools in the corners, presses against the ceiling, and pushes down. The room still feels full. You're still pulling something into your lungs with every inhale. But what you're pulling in has changed. and your body knows before your mind does. Old Samuel Whitmore found that out in the winter of '79. Lived 40 miles north of you. Ran a small spread near the Brazos. Built his cabin tighter than yours. Showed it off to anyone who'd listen. Found him in March when the thaw came. Sitting upright in his chair by the cold stove. Face peaceful. Wood still stacked by the door. The folks who found him said it looked like he'd just decided to stop. That's what spent air does. It doesn't attack. It persuades. Makes rest feel reasonable. Makes closing your eyes seem like the smart choice. You don't fight it because there's nothing to fight. Just a heaviness in your limbs and a fog in your thoughts and a quiet voice suggesting that maybe you've done enough for today. Your wife's grandmother knew a woman in Fredericksburg who lost 2 children the same way. Cabin sealed perfect, fire burning steady, family found in the spring. The woman survived only because she'd gone to the barn that night and fallen asleep there instead. In a drafty shelter that let the wind cut through, the cold saved her. The warmth killed her children, not the warmth itself, but what happens when warmth has no way to breathe. When a room becomes a container for air that's been used up and has nowhere to go. The fire wasn't the villain. The ceiling was. The forgetting was. Nobody wrote that down in any book. But the women remembered. They always do. Conagem approximata de bloco 2, approximately 480. Palavras bloco 3, versao final. So you open the window. Every morning, sometimes twice when the stove is burning hot and the cabin feels thick. You open it wide and let the cold pour in like it owns the place. 10 minutes. 15 if the air's been sitting heavy since dawn. Long enough to feel the bite on your face and watch your breath turn to fog. Long enough for your wife to pull the quilt tighter and give you that look. Not long enough to lose what matters. This is the part that breaks modern thinking. You don't lose as much warmth as you'd expect. We imagine heat as something fragile, delicate. Open a window and it vanishes like smoke. Like you've just thrown money into the wind. But that's not how a cabin works. That's not how stone and wood and cast iron work. The walls are warm. They've been absorbing heat for hours, soaking it in like dry earth soaks rain. 200 pounds of iron in the stove, glowing steady. The hearthstones your father helped you lay, still holding yesterday's fire in their bones. When you swing that window open, you're not emptying the room, you're skimming the surface. The thick air rises because it's lighter than you think, lighter than the cold rushing in to replace it. The used up air escapes. The dampness breaks. And the walls just sit there patient, waiting to give their warmth back the moment you close the window again. 15 minutes. That's all. Then you shut it, and within half an hour the cabin feels different. Not just warmer, cleaner. Like someone swept out a room you didn't realize was dirty. The German widow to the east, the one who runs the spread with her 2 sons, she does this every morning before dawn. Throws the bedroom window wide open while it's still dark, lets the cold flood in, closes it before the sun clears the horizon. Her boys complain for years. The hired hand thinks she's touched. But her cabin never gets that smell. That close, damp thickness that builds up in February when everyone else is coughing and sluggish. When the blizzard of '86 killed 19 people across 3 counties, most of them found in their own homes near their own stoves. Her family came through without a sniffle. She calls it Stoßlaufen. Shock airing. A word that doesn't translate because English speakers forgot they needed it. There's another piece to this. Moisture. Every breath you exhale carries water. So does the kettle on the stove. The beans simmering. The wet boots drying by the fire. In a sealed cabin, all that water sinks into the walls. The wood darkens in the corners. The chinking softens. And wet walls don't hold heat, they steal it. The tighter you seal yourself in, the more moisture builds. The colder you feel despite the fire burning constant. One open window breaks the whole cycle. Conajum. Approximata do Bloco 3. Approximately 490 palavras. Bloco 4, Versal final. You close the window. The cabin warms back up faster than you expected. 10 minutes, maybe less, and the chill is gone. But something else is gone too. That weight behind your eyes. That thickness you'd stop noticing because it built so slowly. The baby settles into sleep like he hasn't in days. Your wife moves easier, though she won't say the window had anything to do with it. The fire crackles on, unbothered. It has what it needs now. So do you. Here's what the old ranchers understood without ever putting it into words. You don't open the window to let heat out. You open it to stop the stale air from stealing what the heat is supposed to give you. Warmth means nothing if your body can't use it. A hot room full of spent air will leave you sluggish, foggy, cold in your bones, even while you're sweating through your shirt. But a room that breathes, a room where the fire gets what it needs and you get what you need, that room will hold you through the worst winter the plains can throw. The rule is simple enough to fit in a single breath. In winter, you don't ventilate to lose warmth. You ventilate to keep it. That's the secret the frontier wives pass to their daughters. The one the German widow brought from the old country. The one nobody bothered to write down because everyone who needed to know it already did that, and then we forgot. We built houses that don't leak. Invented heating systems that run without fire, without smoke, without any visible sign of what they're doing to the air. We sealed ourselves into boxes so tight that the moisture fogs the windows from inside. And we call it condensation instead of warning. We get headaches in January and blame the weather. Feel tired all winter and call it seasonal. Crank the thermostat higher and wonder why we still can't get warm. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just how winter feels. Or maybe you're living in a sealed box with a fire burning somewhere out of sight. The furnace behind the wall. The heating element you never see. And the box hasn't taken a real breath in months. Tomorrow morning, try something. Before the sun comes up, open a window. Not a crack, open it. Let the cold hit your face. Let it push out whatever's been building while you slept. 10 minutes. Then close it and see how fast the warmth comes back. See how different the air tastes. The old ranchers are gone now. The widow's granddaughter lives in a high-rise with climate control. She's never heard the word Stoßlüften, but you have. That's why they opened their windows in winter. Not because they didn't feel the cold. Because they understood what the cold was protecting them from. The rule kept them alive. It can keep you comfortable. Use it.